In March of 2002, President Bush came here to my district, Steve Chabot's district, Cincinnati, Ohio, and gave a speech downtown Cincinnati, which laid out the case for war with Iraq. And it was a real build-up, and he made the claims about uranium in that speech. And this was in our district, so this is an issue of particular importance to the people of this district because we were used as a launching pad for this war. And Steve Chabot, as you know, called for war with Iraq 3 weeks after September 11th. Fast forward, it turns out there was no uranium, there was no weapons of mass destruction. There was a vote in 2005 to release the materials that led President Bush to make this claim. I come from a tradition that public business should be done in public, there should be transparency to know what your government's doing. Could you tell us about that vote and your general opinion on these issues of transparency and the way this war is being conducted?
Well, it looks as though I think if the president could bring back one speech, it would be that one. I don't think the president is very comfortable right now in terms of that speech and in terms of where we are in this war in Iraq right now. It seems as though Steve didn't even need to have that speech made here. He had already made up his mind right after September 11th. And I think it's important to note for me personally, I come from New York City. I experienced September 11th. I lost a first cousin. He was a battalion chief in the fire department. No one has to tell me about the threat of terrorists or international terrorism to our country. But to jump to conclusions and to speculate and use that speculation as a means, a reason to go to war, putting it lightly and mildly, I think is unfortunate. I think if you want to take it to the next step, it's wrong. We should never have done that. But having said that, we have had a series of votes in the International Relations Committee in which we have asked, one, for this Congress to hold hearings, for the International Relations Committee to hold hearings. We barely have had a couple of hearings on the Iraq War since its inception. It's just outrageous. There is no accountability. There is no questions being asked by members of Congress because the majority is controlled by the Republicans. They will not, in any way, shape, or form, institute any kind of hearings that they believe will embarrass the president. And Steve Chabot has been rubber stamping the will of this president and of this Congress. He's not asking questions. He has never questioned the president and his position on the war. He has never questioned the direction of the war. And it's been done from covering up the Valerie plane issue to the war itself, and actually, getting into the nitty-gritty issues of the war. We just have never done that.
Well, you bring up the Valerie plane issue. That's the other issue I wanted to mention. I have a copy here of a July 22nd, 2004 letter that Steve Chabot signed, along with Congress members J.D. Hayworth, Joe Wilson, ironically, Steve King, Mike Burgess, Randy Neugebauer, Trent Franks, Wally Herger, Cass Ballinger, Robin Hayes, Bob Dupre, and of course Steve Chabot. And amazingly, they attack the Nation Institute's giving the award for truth-telling to Ambassador Joe Wilson. So Steve Chabot goes out of his way to criticize a magazine for honoring someone who was willing to tell the truth. Mm-hmm. Yet he votes to not even allow the American people to see why the claims of weapons of mass destruction were even made. I think the senator from your state that I'm sure you knew, Moynihan, always talked about, in the end, public policy is always better when it's done in public. Mm-hmm. And this tendency of any human nature, of any person to try to keep things secret, it doesn't work in a democracy, and it's not what we're all about.
No, and in fact, the old adage, the truth shall set you free.
Right.
Well, the truth be known, Mr. Chabot is concerned about the truth, because it will set him free.
Right.
Free from being a member of Congress from Cincinnati.
Right.
And, I think consistently there have been at least probably 7 resolutions that we have taken up, the Democrats have taken up in the committee to bring some light onto the intelligence gathering leading up to the war in Iraq, and information since we've been in Iraq about body armament and about supplying our troops, about really the direction of this war itself. Why did we dismantle the Ba'ath Party? Why did we dismantle the military in Iraq? Those are the kinds of questions. We're not here to persecute or prosecute the president.
That's right.
What we're here to do is to ask legitimate questions as to how we got here, what was the intelligence, when did we know it, what did we know we knew it. You know, a lot of people have been forced out of this administration, including Colin Powell, the former Secretary of State. A lot of people's lives have been destroyed because of the steps that have been taken. But you think about it, this is the third most deadliest month in Iraq today. You talk about destroying lives is one thing, but loss of life. Almost 3,000 men and women have died in Iraq, American soldiers. Tens of thousands have come back without an arm or a leg, or missing eyes, or deaf, blinded, or had their hearing impaired. Psychological damage has been done to tens of thousands of people. That's the real cost of this war. Not even to mention, you know, what's happened to innocent Iraqi civilians. We know those who are not innocent, but you know, we have no sympathy for them. But the innocence that's been lost here as well, and that there's really no end in sight for this. There's been no plan. There's been no planning to deal with the peace. It's one thing to declare mission accomplished, and we've seen a lot of, you know, the president's recent speech. He's talked about just really changing verbiage, and he's really just changing the rhetoric. We go from mission accomplished to stay the course to not cutting and run. Well, the other day the president cut and run from staying the course, and I think it's time to get rid of the rhetoric and start focusing on what we have to do to really to fix the problem in Iraq and put the attention where it's really needed on the war against terror in Afghanistan.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Look forward to working with you.
Thanks, John. Looking forward to having you there.
Yeah.
You're going to make a great member of Congress.
Thank you.